Hello and welcome to WSL United WFC.
Good afternoon. Anthony Wilson here on All for United WFC. I'm joined by the usual suspect, Jon Foster. How are you, Jon?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, as we just mentioned before the show started, at least Man United won this week to stop that rot. So, great result there.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, when he scored, I was so relieved.
Yeah,
We talked about it on Tuesday's show and the moods briefly, and it just makes such a difference. And now we can look forward to the weekend ahead, hopefully. But before we get into this week's fixtures, we are going to discuss last week's results and how the predictions went. We didn't have a great week, to be fair, this week. No correct score lines, and we both had 3 correct results for certain teams. So it ended 6-6, which makes the scores after 3 rounds 34-26 to me. But the results last week were Everton 3, Birmingham 1, Leicester 4. Oh, no, sorry. I got that the wrong way round. Apologies. It was West Ham 4, Leicester 0, Brighton 0, Villa 1, Arsenal 5, Man City 0, Tottenham Hotspurs 1, Reading 0, and unfortunately, Man United 1, Chelsea 6. Now, in terms of them results, which result surprised you the most? Because it could be different reasons. Like, you could have Man United Chelsea not thinking it was going to be so big, or there could be another game where you thought, oh, maybe I thought this team would win. But
I think obviously Arsenal stands out, doesn't it, Anthony? I mean, to win that much against City, even though we appreciate City have been up against it with injuries, that's still a massive defeat for City. But great to see Villa still, doing well this season as well. I know Colin Ward's up for manager of the month as well, and rightly so. So great to see Villa still going from strength to strength as well. So probably pick up on those. Of course, United, you don't expect to concede 6, but I spoke enough about United, so I think I'll talk about the other teams.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't want to really touch on the United result too much. Sort of, we're getting to Friday now, and we want to look forward to the weekend. But before we do go on to this weekend's fixtures, I'm just going to read out the predictions that we both had. Me and Jon both predicted 3-0 to Everton. So, unfortunately, Birmingham scored there, so that only allowed us 2 points each. Jon went for 2-1 West Ham. I went 2-1 for Leicester. So, Jon got 2 points there with a correct result. Brighton, Villa, we both went for 2-1. So, no points received there by either of us. Arsenal, of course, won 5-0. Jon, you had 2-0, and I had 3-1. So 2 points for both of us there. Then we go on to Spurs, who won. We both had a draw, 2-2, and for you, 1-1 for me. And then Man United result, obviously, you were being a bit optimistic and went for 2-2. I was being a negative Nancy, and so it proved right to be. But my 2-1 score prediction clearly should have been about 2-1. But if you defend like we did defend, then against a team like the likes of Chelsea, you are going to concede 6. So, like I said, that was last week. This is a new week. We know they'll all be in training, sorting out problems from last week, and I expect to see a totally different outfit on Sunday. But we will start now with this weekend's fixture list. Now, Chelsea v Brighton is the 11:30 on Saturday. They have played each other 5 times. Chelsea, most surprisingly, have won more. They've won 3 times. There has been a draw once, and Brighton have once, which you might recall was last season. The experts have Chelsea as hot favourites at 1-12. You can get the draw at 7-1, or if you fancy Brighton to pull off another shock, then you can have them at 12-1. So, with them odds in mind and the head-to-head, how do you see this planning out?
I think from if you're a Brighton fan, that's 7-1. Looks appetising, doesn't it? Really, because Brighton are doing well this season, better than most people thought. I think they've always been one of the underdogs this season to finish in the top 5, top 6, and they're really pushing. They've had a good start to the season, no doubt about that. Chelsea, obviously, firm favourites, 12-1 on. I think you said 1-12. So,
Yeah.
I think that's purely based on Chelsea coming back to form now. That opening game of the season, it was only one game against a very, very good team. We know Chelsea start off slow at the start of the season, as they did last season as well. And I'm sure they'll start coming good. So going into the game, I do, especially with Chelsea being at home, I do expect them to be very dominant. Shall we go for scorelines now, Anthony?
Yeah, we will do. But touching on it, I agree with you. Shocks can happen, but I can see Chelsea winning. But then Brighton are a funny side. They pull out results like this against the likes of Chelsea and Man United, but then they lose to teams like Villa, and I think they would have been disappointed last week to lose at home to Villa, obviously. But I agree with pretty much what you said. I think Chelsea will win, but what do you reckon the scoreline's going to be?
I've got an idea on how many Chelsea will score. It's just whether or not Brighton will get on the score sheet. I'm going to go for a 3-0 Chelsea.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. You're obviously thinking Brighton ain't going to score, which is a very good possibility that they might not score it. But then Chelsea do give chances occasionally, as United managed to last season. But I was oohing and ahhing with a couple of results. With it being at Kings Meadow, I'm going to go for a 4-0 Chelsea.
You always seem to go one or two more than me, don't you?
Well,
you goals. It's very possible.
I was thinking 3-0 to be honest, but I thought I'd make it a bit more exciting, and I'll go one higher.
Okay.
So we'll move on to Villa Arsenal now, which is a 5:15 kickoff, which is on a Saturday now, moved due to Arsenal's commitments in the Champions League, which the WSL granted permission, the FA. They have played 4 times. Not so surprisingly, Villa have not beaten them, but this might surprise you. Out of the 4 times they've played, they have drawn 3 times, with Arsenal winning once. Now, the odds are clearly not with the head-to-heads. The experts have gone for 12-1 of the Villa to win. You can get them at 31-5 for a draw, or you can get Arsenal as hot favourites at 1-10. Now, what do you see happening in this one? Do you fully expect the form book to continue, or can you see Villa's good form?
I think if it was Arsenal of last season, I'd feel Villa could create an upset here. Both teams doing very well. I don't think it'll be a massive win. I'm thinking like a 2-1 kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment as I'm working my way through it. But it's just the fact that Arsenal's on such good form that, and they deserve it. They've got some, Toby Heath obviously getting some game time there as well. And they're all new manager as well. They're just all coming good at the right time. The question is with Arsenal is, can they sustain it throughout the whole season? That's going to be the biggest question. So far, so good for them. And they're looking very like the main contenders to challenge Chelsea this season. Arsenal inside their camp will probably look at it the other way around, as Chelsea being their main rival. So I'm sure Arsenal have got so much confidence. So going into this game at a nice stadium like Villa Park, where usually the bigger stadiums will suit the best players who can get onto that space, who can create space. So I think a lot of it does favour Arsenal. We know Villa will bring a lot of support. We'll be there as well. So me and Natalie and maybe a couple of others will be watching this match live as well at the stadium. I've got a score prediction in mind, but I'll let you have a little bit of a chat.
Yeah, no worry. Like you said, Arsenal have got I think they're pretty much fully fit now. Jordan Nobbs made a comeback last night in the FA Cup, so that's another player they have. So Arsenal are looking very strong. As good a start as Villa have had, I'm with you. I think Arsenal will win. Well, I think you think Arsenal will win. You haven't given me a prediction yet, but now we've discussed Chelsea and Arsenal, I am going to mention, and it's funny that you say the challenging Chelsea, challenging Arsenal, or Arsenal filling it the other way round. After 3 rounds of fixtures, Chelsea and Arsenal are both joint favourites at 5-4 to win the WSL. And it's crazy how things change, because I messaged you and Man United lost 6-1, and that one win has put the experts, and they've doubled our odds to win, and we are now 80-1 with the likes of Spurs. So after 3 rounds, it's early days, but saying that, this is the 3rd game, so you can't really take anything. 4th game, so apologies. So you can't really take anything into consideration if it's a long season. If they do get a load of injuries and that, then things can change quickly. But on that note, prediction time.
Yeah. I think because we haven't seen Villa play any of the top teams yet, potentially their league position has been a little bit inflated. I'm not saying they don't deserve it, because they do, but they haven't played any one of like the top 3 or top 4 yet. So this is going to be the first major test, I suppose, at that kind of level. And I do think that they will probably suffer. So I don't think they'll be dominated. I think there will be parts where you're thinking that Villa's going to get something out of the game. But for me, I'm going to go for probably a 3-1 win Arsenal.
Cool. That seems a fair result. I agree with a lot of you said. Villa have had teams that you would like to expect them to beat and pick up points. You could look at the Brighton one as one where they thought they might have only picked up a point, but went away with 3 points. Bearing in mind it being Arsenal, I can't see Villa scoring. I'm going to go for 3-0 Arsenal.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Leicester v Spurs now. Spurs, a bit like Villa, have a great start to the season. 3 out of 3, if I'm not mistaken. Leicester, I talked about them. About how they had to pick up points soon, surely, with the squad they have. And they're Billy let me down last week, losing 4-0 to West Ham. With not great reading, especially when West Ham hadn't scored a home goal last season. It's a new season. They've now scored 5. With the head-to-head, they have only played once, and that ended in a draw. And the experts have it at Leicester to win is 19-10, 12-5 for the draw, and Spurs 11-10 for the win. So the experts have got Spurs as slight favourites, even though it is away. How do you see this one playing out? Can you see Leicester finally getting something here, or do you think Spurs' good form's going to continue?
I think there's so many things to take into consideration on this one, because Leicester can't go through the whole season without picking up points. They've got to start picking up points somewhere. Tottenham, I mentioned Aston Villa's position in the league has been inflated slightly, but because of the lack of good teams. But Tottenham have played City, and I appreciate that what happened in that game, but they've still gone on to win that game. And Tottenham are doing a lot better than I thought, and I thought they was going to do. To go from winning all the games that they have won to suddenly losing this game, I can't see it happening. With Leicester losing the way that they did in the week as well, in the cup, they crashed out of that cup really bad. Their confidence is going to be really rattled at the moment. Now you can look at that two ways. One, they need to bounce back and they'll be up for it, or do they need something to push them? Can they just get to Christmas and a January transfer window? Is that what they're looking at? It's still very early. It's still October, so it's going to be very tough for Leicester. I'm not going to predict a Leicester win, but I'm still undecided. So I'll listen to you on what you have to say about this one.
Yeah, you mentioned them losing in the FA Cup and that, but then also Spurs come off the back of a rout as well against their North London rivals Arsenal. So they'll have their tails up and want to get back to winning ways and carry on their good form. I'm in the same boat as you, John, regarding a Leicester win. I don't think they'll get a win. I think it will be a close game, and I feel like it could be one of these games where they'll have chances to win, but I feel like they won't get them. They'll be a bit wasteful. But like you said, they've got to pick up points soon. And against the likes of Spurs, I know they've done well, but you would say they're definitely punching above their weight at the moment, Spurs, regarding results. Talking about predictions, though, have you decided?
Yeah, I think I have just about decided. I'm going to give Leicester a point. I'm going to go for 1-1. I think the experts have got it right. It could quite easily be like a 2-1 to Tottenham here. But I'm going to go for a 1-1, and let's try and get some points on the board for Leicester. And it's only a matter of time before Tottenham needs to start dropping points as well. So let's see what happens on this game.
Definitely. Well, if I'm sure the Craney and Gareth will probably be there, won't they? Because they'll be able to make it for the 6:45. So it's interesting. You said it could quite easily be 2-1 Spurs, and that's the scoreline I've gone for. I just feel, other than the FA Cup, I think Spurs will be full of confidence. Leicester, yes, they do need to put up some points for some confidence, but I don't think it's going to start today. I think the confidence that Spurs will have will push them over the line this game, and I've gone for a 2-1 Spurs. We'll move on to Man City West Ham now. Now, the odds here I've got, I think are a bit steep, but of course odds at the time of recording can change. They can fluctuate. You've got Man City at 1-25 here, 13-1 for a draw, and it's 25-1 for West Ham to win. Now, if you look at the head-to-head record, they've played 7 times in the last 4 years, and Man City have won all 7. So you could look at that and say, well, 1-25 isn't as steep as you think. But then, if you do put money on West Ham to win at 25-1, even if you put a fiver on, are not encouraging. If you do it responsibly, you're still earning about £125 from a fiver, and you only have to look at the other game against Spurs where they lost. We keep mentioning the injuries, but I feel like Man City will still be too strong, even though they have got these injuries. I know West Ham come off the back of a 4-0 win of Leicester, so their confidence will be high. But regarding that, what are your views?
Yeah, I mean, on those odds, I mean, they are quite reckless. I mean, I wouldn't go betting on a West Ham win, so I can understand. But 25-1, I mean, that's massive. It only takes a City player to get sent off in the first 5 minutes for doing something stupid. Then they're down to 10 players, and then these experts will be panicking a little bit on those odds. A draw of 13-1. That's still, I mean, that's not a bad shout. Look. It looks like City may have turned the corner after what we saw in the week. They have still got some quality players who can put chances away. I know they've missed a few. I appreciate that, but I do think that they'll start putting everyone together soon. And they'll have in the back of their mind as well that they've got Man United the week after, so they need to pick up points in this game, or else things could turn very bad for them. So I'm definitely going to go for a City win. I'll let you talk a little bit first while I think of a scoreline.
No worries. I'm like you. I am going to go for a City win. They'll be a bit more confident after last night's result against Leicester in the FA Cup. So, like you said, they'll be thinking, hopefully this is a turning the corner. I'm not sure if they've got any players back, but it can only be a matter of time before they do get their some of their players back, even if it's a 2 or 3. I'll give you my score prediction first for a change, just so you've got a few more seconds to decide. I've gone for another convincing score line here for City. I've gone for another 4-0.
Oh, okay. So it's a bit different to mine, so I'm glad about that. I can see why. I'm going to throw in a goal. I think West Ham, they're in that scoring frame of mind, aren't they? Having won 4-0. City's defence still isn't 100%, so I can maybe see West Ham scoring a goal. I was thinking 3-1, 4-1. I'll say 3-1. So I'll say 3-1 Man City on this one.
Okay, no, that's interesting. So you just gone for a West Ham, and we'll see, won't we? Time will tell. Yeah. So we'll move on to Reading v Everton now. They both had a bit of a sticky start to the season. Obviously, Everton did finally pick up their first win of the season last time out against Birmingham. They've played each other 8 times in the last 4 years. 3 wins for Reading, 2 draws, 3 for Everton. You can have Reading at 10-3, a draw at 14-5, and Everton at 6-10, making Everton the favourites by quite a bit. The thing with head-to-head odds, things change in the women's game, and Reading's 3 wins most probably would have been when they had a bit more of a bit more experience in there. But so it could be a totally I think it will be a totally different game. Reading do need to start picking up points as well. But what do you make of the Reading Everton game? Can you see Everton carrying on their good form from last week, or just one of them ones you would expect them to win anyway? Well,
I can see them, but I can also see other things happening as well. This is one game that's very hard to predict because you look at Everton and, they've lost the first 2 games very convincingly. However, they were against 2 very good teams. And then they pick up a win, but it took them until the 75th minute roughly to get ahead. I think he got to like 2-1 at that point and then ended up winning 3-1, did they? I can't remember. But it took them quite a while to get that lead.
Yeah, 1-3-1.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So there's plenty of different ways to look at this. If I had to pick a winner, then I probably would pick Everton. If it had to be one way or the other. But I still think the jury's still out for me on Everton at the moment because even though they won Birmingham's a very weak team anyway. We know that, so it's expected. We'll give our Man United prediction against Birmingham shortly, but I'd expect a good team of Everton standard to be winning a bit more comfortably than they did against Birmingham. So for me, even though Everton are the favourites, and I can see why, they're not firm favourites. So I'm going to go for a draw, but I won't give you the scoreline until you've said your bit.
Fair enough. No, you pretty much covered what I was going to say regarding how I think Everton would have wanted to have scored a few more against Birmingham and finished it a bit quicker. Reading is still trying to acclimatise to losing quite a bit of experience. But you mentioned you're going to go for a draw is exactly what I was thinking. Now, I'll give you my prediction again. I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I just, like you've said, it's one of them games where, either team could win, but it's just one of them ones where I reckon it could be quite a scrappy affair, and they'll just cancel each other out. So I've gone for 1-1. What about you, John?
Yeah, well, because all of our other ones are different, I'm going to stick with my initial prediction, which was going to be 1-1 as well. So, on this one, I'm going to keep the same as you on this one because you might come down to the correct scoreline at the end of the week. So, 1-1.
Exactly. Don't change your scoreline just because I've gone for it. So, last but not least, we move on to Birmingham v Man United. This is a 7:15 kickoff live on Sky. On Sunday in front of the cameras. The girls and Mark, after last week, will want to put a performance in to get over last week. We have played them twice previously. We have beaten them twice. The experts have Birmingham at 13-2, a draw at 7-2, and a win for Man United at 3-10. So they have us as hot favourites, which I fully expect. I'm going to ask a question on Birmingham quickly. Can you see Birmingham getting anything? And if not, where do you see them picking up points from? Touch wood, it won't be Sunday.
I think you said those hot favourites by the experts. So we're hot favourites by the experts. But if you look at some of the other ones, like we saw, was it Arsenal? Was it 25-1 or was it City 25-1? And
City.
Yeah, and some of the others are like 10-1. We're like 3-10. It's not. I think we should be more favourites than this. I understand why experts might say that because obviously we're away, we've come off the back of a massive defeat, but this is a different game now. So long as we're in the right frame of mind, we should be more favourites than that. As for Birmingham, I can't see them picking up points on this one. The longer the game goes on, the more we may get frustrated. We might see Birmingham do a bit of time wasting. Potentially that could happen from the very first minute. But I still think we'll create chances. So I can't see Birmingham picking up any points against us. Now, as someone who comes from the Birmingham area, I've said from day one I want Villa and Birmingham to stay up for selfish reasons. Obviously, I live in the area the same way as I'm sure that you would like to see Brighton do well as well after United. So, yeah, I would like to see them pick up points, but where? See, I thought maybe Tottenham, but it didn't work out against Tottenham, did it?
No. Exactly.
They're struggling at the moment. You might need some sort of Birmingham derby where there will be underdogs, but just to get that fire in the belly, just to maybe get something extra. West Ham, I thought at the start of the season, not going to be brilliant, but then they rock up with a 4-0 win last week. So, of course, Birmingham will pick up points, but I can't say just yet what game it's going to be, because I think Tottenham would have been the game that you would have called for the most. But yeah, I definitely hope that they start getting some points on the board, because the season could be over for them by November, December if they don't.
Yeah, no, you only have to look at Bristol City's form up until January, February last season. They gave it a good go after that, but the damage was done in the first half of the season. And if Birmingham aren't careful, then they're going to fall into this trap too. Now, we mentioned Spurs only beating them 1-0, but Spurs were the dominant side and could have quite easily have beaten them more than 1-0. So it's hard to see where they are going to pick points up at the moment. Their confidence will be low, but we do need to be patient as a side. If things don't go right and we're not 1 or 2-0 up by half time, you just have to look at Chelsea last night. They went into the break at 0-0. They missed the first half penalty, but as soon as they got that one goal, the floodgates opened. So, I think Mark will know that they have to be patient, and it's just hopefully a matter of when and not if. But I fully expect a United win. I think we'll be hurting big time. The quality we have, it's a different kettle of fish to Birmingham, and we're playing a different outfit to Chelsea, who you have to be right on your game from the goalkeeper to the attack. Before I do ask for predictions, though, I do want to touch on the false nine and Russo briefly. Now, in my opinion, the false nine is okay with certain teams, but watching the second half against Chelsea last week, I think if Russo's fit, even if she can only play 60 minutes.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Anthony. If she can play 60 minutes, she needs to start.
I would start Russo up front, Tooney as 10. Hopefully get 2 or 3 or 4 goals before the 60-hour mark. Thank you, Russo. Come off now. You've got the points in the bag. Then if you do have to revert back to the false nine, because the lack of strikers, which could be a possibility now. We saw Martha Thomas strapped up, so I'm not quite sure if anything's been said about that. I'm sure Mark might mention something in his show later on today. We'll see on Twitter when he has his press conference. And you could see from the second half how much of a difference Russo did make. She hit the crossbar. You could. I'm not sure if Russo did go down as Russo's goal.
It
did come off Millie Bright. So, but she wasn't afraid to take shots on. which sometimes, if you don't have a proper striker, that can be a problem. And it showed first half. I don't think anyone was really at the races first half, but when Russo did come on and then Tooney dropped back, that was the bright spark of the game. And at 3-1, we were back in it. Yes, we quickly threw it away again with Kamikaze defending, but against the likes of Birmingham, you're going to have more space. You're going to have more of the ball. You're going to create more chances. So I'll ask you what your thoughts are on it. Have you got anything to add? Because I know I've touched on what you were going to say, and I had a feeling it would be something similar.
Yeah, just to counteract that, though, what I would say is if we do decide to play a false nine against Birmingham, then it wouldn't be the end of the world because they're not as good quality opponents as Chelsea. So I could understand it, but the way I'm looking at this now, much like yourself, Anthony, if Russo's going to be our number 9 for the rest of the season, or even if you're just challenging Martha Thomas, if she's fit, she needs to start playing. And for me, it needs to be start as you mean to go on now. So we've got 2 wins out of 3. Great. The one that we lost was against the champions, so not the end of the world. And no matter what formation, no matter what players we put out against Birmingham, we should win them. That's not underestimating Birmingham, but our players are better than their players. It should be a case of it doesn't matter what we do, we should win. A couple of things to take into consideration as well. Birmingham will probably be a bit more defensive. They might sit back, be very happy with a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw. So that might change things a little bit. So does that mean more crosses will go into the box? So you need someone with Russo's height and physicality to get on the end of those. We know Russo can get headers. So that's definitely a possibility. Or would you go for the more intricate players who can play 1-2s around people and maybe put that extra midfielder in, like a Bovis, Jackie, both on the same pitch together, to kind of break them down that way as well. So, yeah, I want to see Russo play because I think that's the way forward for the rest of the season. Russo up top, as you said, Tooney behind her. But for one game against a Birmingham team that we should be winning anyway, if Russo's not 100%, can I see Skinner resting him again? Yes. Is it the right thing to do? I guess we'll see. If we're lacking goals and Russo's not on the pitch, he'll come under criticism. But that shouldn't be the case. We should go into half time 3-0 up, in my opinion. And to challenge for the top 3 places, there's no way to hide it. That we need to get goals. No, and that'll bring me on top prediction, surely.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. You can see already goal difference is a factor. Obviously, with last week's result didn't help. I think we've got a negative goal difference. Now, it's looking likely if we do want to challenge for third, then we will be challenging City for third. But City have got so many players to come back, so we need to pick up the points and take advantage of them not having them players. So we need to go into this confident, scoring goals, free-flowing football, and then it leads us into good stead into the Manchester derby next week, which will be a big game. I feel it's early days, but I feel if we don't get anything out of that game, I struggle to see the top 3. And I know you can say, well, it's only 5 games, things change. Yes, we didn't lose till after Christmas last season, but I just feel that City are only going to get stronger. They had a poor start last season, and that poor start cost them the title because they were pipped by Chelsea. So I fully expect us to beat Birmingham. It's just by how many. How many are you thinking?
We lost 6-1 to Chelsea, so that was like a negative goal average of 5. I think we'll bring that 5 back. So I'm going to go for a 5-0. And that, well, I'll let you say yours in a bit. But yeah, that's I mean, that's massive for United because we don't usually win many, 5-0. And even though, I'm always very positive towards United, you can always think, we might always leak a goal. We never know what's going to happen. It could be a slip. It could be a dodgy back pass. It could be just anything stupid at the back, switching off. And we've seen that in the WSL for over 2 seasons now. So you could argue that we might concede one. However, I do think Mannion and Thor are looking good. I think so long as we don't get caught on the counter attack at any point, then we should be okay. So that's why I'm going to go for 5-0. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with you. And well, I agree with your prediction as well. I put 5-0 down. So, like you said, we don't want to be caught out. And as you can see, we do like to be sloppy sometimes. But when we are on our game and we're fully concentrating, we're good and we can get clean sheets. And like you said, we do tend to slip occasionally and let a goal in. But no, I agree. I've gone for 5-0 as well. Birmingham a totally different outfit from a couple of seasons ago. Lost so many players. I don't know if how the club's being run has changed much since we talked about it last season. But results on the field are not great. So, no, 5-0 for me. Like we discussed, I'd like to see Russo start. And I think if Russo does start, I can see us scoring a couple. What about you, John?
This is probably where there will be some sort of difference of opinion, I guess, because obviously 5 goals, it could be anyone who scores. I can see loads of corners. I can see us having loads of corners, so you could get a centre back on the score sheet.
Yeah.
So I'll probably throw in. I'll go for another Thor goal. That'll be really good. So I'd like to see Maria get on the score sheet again. We always say Jackie, don't we? Because Jackie hasn't scored yet. But
well, she needs to wear orange.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
look at her shot last week. It's nowhere near.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
wearing orange.
Yeah, I know. It's not very often I'll say Jackie's going to score. I always say I'd like to see Jackie score against the World Club, or I'd like to see Jackie score. I think in this time Jackie can actually score because I just think we'll have quite a lot of the ball around that part of the box. I'm presuming she's going to start as well because she might not even start, and maybe we can touch on the start 11 shortly. But I think Jackie, Thor as a couple of outsiders. And then it's hard to say that we're going to score 5 goals and Tooney not being one of them. So Tooney, 1, Hansen 1, and maybe a sub. Let's go for a young Carrie goal. Let's get Carrie on the score sheet.
You're thinking that would be great, wouldn't it, if she could get her first goal?
Yeah, definitely. That'd be nice.
It would be great, and you've touched on scorers that I pretty much expect can get the goals. Jackie, if Jackie scores, we're on the pitch.
It's a shame to St Andrews because if it was still at Solihull, we'd have literally been right by the pitch, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I know. That's the only. It's good that we play at the men's grounds, but I am looking forward to the West Ham away and the Everton away because they're still that old school non-league environment where you are close to the pitch.
I like it.
Which it is nice playing in big stadiums, and of course they want to play in big stadiums. Who wouldn't in front of more fans? But this is what I do like about the women's game: the non-league grounds where you're close to it, and the atmosphere. It's smaller, so it's even louder. So I am looking forward to November when we do have West Ham and Everton. But before we go, I want to touch on one last thing. changes. After a 6-1 win, do you expect changes? Where would you expect the changes? For me, I think if he's going to change anything, it's the midfield. I think the midfield, we need to have more intensity. Against Chelsea, when we lost the ball, we weren't quick enough, wanting it, harassing it, but as soon as Chelsea lost the ball, the likes of Fran Kirby, she was running after it, wanting to get it back. And they got it back because of that intensity. And so I feel like, I do feel like he should have brought on Hayley Ladd at half time. But then in that game, we talked on it before, we normally concede less with Hayley Ladd. So you could have seen Hayley Ladd as a starting option, which would have been good. So obviously with Birmingham, it's going to be a different kettle of fish. They're not going to have so many chances. But where do you see changes? Because I do see a couple of changes.
Yeah, I see changes too. And Skinner's going to start thinking of the future and covering his back a little bit by playing some of the better players. The reason why I say that goes against everything that he said in the past, in the sense of look at his opponents, look at their weaknesses, and then choose maybe his tactics around the opponent's weaknesses. I thoroughly get that, but this is Birmingham, bottom of the league. We said earlier in the show, we don't even know where they're going to pick up points. So we've got to go out there, express ourselves, get our best players on the pitch, and make sure that we don't only win, but win convincingly as well. Now, you touched on Hayley Ladd. This is definitely a game she could play. You can look at it two ways, because what we've seen last season is the games that Hayley Ladd didn't play, Casey played two more, not attacking kind of midfielders, but we didn't play a CDM because we didn't need to play a CDM because we were against a weaker team. However, what Hayley Ladd was allowed to do is push your wing backs up, or so wing backs, full backs up. She could sit in deep with the two centre backs, so you got three defenders there as opposed to four. She would also allow Katie Zellums, Lucy Staniforths, Bo Reeses, and Jackie's, two of those four, to get further forward as well. So there is that way of looking at it. Or you could look at it another way, saying we don't need a CDM in this game. Let's play Bo Reeses and Jackie and Tooney, or Bo Reeses, Jackie and Lucy Stan with Tooney up top. There's lots of ways you can look at this, and I don't think there's any right or wrong way, because both ways would work. If it's against Chelsea, you can see it being a difference, but against Birmingham, either way you look at this should work.
I agree. Sorry, I agree.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
I agree with you, but then we did play Birmingham last season, and yes, we did beat them. I think it was 5-2, but them 2 goals went in, and Hayley Ladd wasn't on the field.
Correct.
So I definitely think she shores it up a bit, and I think I would like to see Mark pick people on form. So if someone's not performing, I know there's been a couple of occasionally people have mentioned like Leah. Now on her day, Leah beats anyone. She's first name on the team list. But you look at her form so far this season. Does she need to be dropped potentially to try and get the best out of her? Yeah. Lots of people mention Katie Zellum, and I know a lot of people are not big fans, and that's people's opinions. But I would like to see Barisa play. She didn't even come on the last couple of games, so I don't know what's going on there. But I would like, and hopefully Mark will start picking players through form and being deserved. We don't want to be one of these teams where you're getting in because you're this or that. I just think if people know they're definitely going to be playing regardless, that's when your performance drops because complacency creeps in. Would you like sort of agree along them lines?
Yeah, we've got 6 great midfielders, in my opinion, who could all offer something different. Some players are more physical than others, and we saw that at Chelsea. You know, some people's weaknesses was spotted because they're not as physical. But then you got other players who have got a bit more finesse, who can do different types of things. I agree with Leah, and we know the reasons why. You know, she's not 100%. It's as simple as that. If she was, we know what she can do. So yeah, maybe this is a perfect opportunity to rest Leah, because it's only Birmingham. So you know, Russo, Tooney on one side, Hansen on the other, could potentially would be my first front three on this one. So I'll put Tooney out wide a little bit. That would allow Russo to start up front. And then Tooney can also always drop in the centre to sub Russo off after 60 minutes, bring Leah Golton on for half an hour. So we could do it that way, and that's the way I would like to see it. So that would be my front three. And yeah, you rightly said about Bobby, so we haven't seen much of her just yet. Is there something going on like behind the scenes where she's probably just not quite up to speed yet in training? Has she settled in Manchester? We don't know any of these things. Hopefully she has. Hopefully it's just tactical and she can come in on Sunday and carry on. For me, if I was Skinner now, I'll be looking at things and I'll be looking to myself, right, we've got a massive game against City. What can I do in this game to prepare for City? And if that's going to be like a Hayley lad with maybe a Bo Risa and Jackie, then do it in this game and get used to it. You know, get used to that kind of game. So whatever team Skinner puts out Sunday, I'd like to kind of see some sort of reason behind that. But look, fans are always going to turn around and say, oh, we should have put this player in instead of that player. That's what we want, because we've got at least 17, 18 quality players on the pitch in the squad. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to stick with my 5-0 as well. And we've just got to get off to a very good start, haven't we?
No, I agree with you. And it could possibly be more if we get an early goal, because like we've discussed, I feel the longer the game goes on, the more they'll be confident and the more we could worry about breaking them down because time wasting in that. But if we say we score in a couple of minutes, inside 2 minutes, then space opens up and then the floodgates, hopefully. I hope it's only Birmingham doesn't come back to bite.
I know.
But on that note, I think we will wrap up there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to follow us, our Twitter names are down the bottom. I believe tonight is the Football Fans Forum, where fans go on with their topics and speak about certain topics. Then Saturday is the Ben and Matt show, I believe.
Yeah, that's a pre-recorded one this week because the guys will be at Villa Park, so they won't be able to do it live, unfortunately, but there is still a show going out, yeah.
Okay, and before we wrap up, John, is there anything else you would like to add, or is that everything?
Just all 3 nights on the road on Sunday. So as a lot of people have probably started to say on our Twitter now, we don't put it on YouTube, but we do put it on our Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts. We do like to support local teams as well in some of the lower tiers and grassroots football. So what we're doing with Anthony as well this week, me, Anthony, Nat, Andy and Chloe will be going to my local team, who I went to a couple of weeks ago, Stourbridge. They're playing Kidderminster Harriers, who some of you may recognise that team because Sophie from YouTube plays for that club. So that's going to be a massive one for us, whilst Matt, Ben and Gareth are going to the Leicester game to watch Jess and others play their game, and then we'll meet up at St Andrews to watch United play. So an action-packed day on Sunday. So even if you don't see much on our YouTube on Sunday, you will still see a lot of activity on our Twitter and Instagram as well.
Definitely. Cheers for that, John. And thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and put your score predictions in the box. But for now, see you next time. Cheers, John.